Hey, here's a question. Have you ever undertaken a challenge and didn't understand its difficulty fully and then hated the next 80 hours of your life? No? Yeah, me neither. Anyway, I've got the most incredible run to share with you today. The run that started as a joke and soon became the most harrowing experience I've ever had with this game. This is a world first, I can guarantee it. No one else is stupid or stubborn enough to do what I've done. I know this is all very cryptic, but you have to see it to believe it, so strap in. This is the solo Madman run, where I took on ultimate, full-powered Sybil with no weapons and no hands to achieve the Unity ending. Before we get started, big shout out to Francis Colombe, FrankiePixelShow, the creator of Look Outside. Look Outside won Best Art Direction and Best Indie Horror 2025 at the Horror Game Awards. Yeah, boy. You killed it, Frankie. You did it. This one's for you, man. Okay, so what the hell is a Madman run? Well, when you start the game, there's an Easter egg if you happen to name yourself Lumpy. Naming yourself this puts you in the Straitjacket for the rest of the game and you cannot take it off. This Easter egg is in tandem with another Easter egg found in the basement where you can find a hidden room that has the prisoner in it. The prisoner itself is a homage to Frankie's mate and fellow creator Lumpy Touch. Usually when you go and visit Lumpy in his prison, the straitjacket is on the floor. You can pick it up, you can put it on, but you can also take it off. If you name yourself Lumpy, you cannot take this thing off, and it restricts you from using your arms. Your arms are wrapped behind your back like a straitjacket. So yeah, no weapons, also no weapon skills, also no game skills that require you to have a weapon, and that's like most of the good ones. But it's not completely hopeless. You do get a unique skill with the straitjacket called Dire Straits. This skill combines all of your stats together to create one number, and that's what it calculates its damage on. Sounds good in theory, pretty shit in practice, but we'll get to that. Okay, on to the next bit of housekeeping. So, who is Ultimate Sybil and why is it impressive to beat her? Well, Sybil is the hardest boss fight in the game as of update 2.0 for the final vision. She is optional and arguably killing her gives you the worst ending in the game, but she is still the hardest challenge. The intended method of fighting Sybil is to weaken her by running around Meat World and attacking each one of her organs. She has 9. Each one of these organs powers up the base Sybil with some kind of special power or resistance and gives her extra attacks each turn. Ultimate Sybil is what I'm referring to, the boss fight with Sybil when she has none of the organs defeated. Full power, all abilities, no breaks. Okay, let's get back to the setup. Since this is a cursed mode run, there's some insane challenges in the early game. The only way you can really keep up without having access to early game weapons and very limited items off the bat is to learn some game skills. First of all, jump attack is necessary. At this point, Dire Straits does about 30 damage, jump attack does about 20. It's pretty close. If I try to attack normally, I'll do about 5 damage. This setup is enough to start killing some of the onlookers at the very least, and get our way over to the crafting kit. The crafting kit is incredibly important for this run because items are the only thing that is going to carry us. There are a fair few non-optional difficulty spike encounters in this curse mode run, and the items are the only thing that will pull us through. At the moment, our biggest obstacle is the eyeball neighbor next door. He holds the key to the padlock that unlocks the 3rd floor staircase. That's the only way to progress, and he is non-optional. Luckily, we can craft 1 Molotov that's going to really help out in that fight. Also, because we're wearing some armor with the straitjacket, which you usually don't have access to this early in the game, his damage is fairly easy to tank, which is nice. It might be one of the only benefits of Straitjacket. Thanks to a successful burn off the Molotov and a few hits of the Dire Straits, this guy goes down just fine. The bleed status from his knife is the biggest issue, but luckily with the additional defense from the Straitjacket, the knife itself isn't too much of a risk. Alright, with this dude out of the way, we have access to the rest of the apartment complex, and I can start scavenging. This was a very lengthy process, so I'll jump ahead in time to when things get more interesting. Okay, welcome back. It's been quite a few days. I think it's day 4 and I'm level 8. I've made it through the landlord's apartment just by running in and grabbing the basement key, but now we're stuck at a hard impasse. Our next major obstacle is Antoine in the basement to get access to the sewers. But Antoine is no joke. He's basically a 3-phase super boss now, and I don't really have a way of getting past him yet. The biggest issue with Antoine as a solo player is survivability. He can kick you, vomit acid on you, paralyze you. He does quite a bit. He gets a free turn at the very beginning of the fight, and he can do about 150 damage in one hit, which will instant kill me, as I am currently. The solution to this issue is simple. You need the training belt, probably the ruby ring, and most likely the patchwork set. So it's an RNG roll with Mutt to hopefully have the training belt rock up at the shop. In the meantime, I can do a little bit of busy work, go collect some of the offerings, like the paintings from Frederick, and just try to bide my time. Luckily for me, the next day, Mutt did have the training belt. Yippee! We can actually start doing things. One little benefit of this Madman run is that I don't have to stockpile weapons and ammo, because I can't use them. So anytime I pick something up, I sell it, go straight into Mutt's pocket, which means I've got a lot of cash at all times and I can stock up on anything that I need. Now that I've got the training belt, I'm feeling a little more confident in my survivability. The training belt doubles your health in exchange for halving your stamina, but since this will be a mostly item heavy run and my skills will drop off in damage immensely, that's not a bad trade-off. Unfortunately, doubling a crappy number is usually still fairly crappy. So now I have almost 300 health, but that's not going to be enough to take on Antoine. Our next step is to steal the patchwork set from the taxidermy apartment. I can't equip the chest, just the helmet and the boots, but that'll give me an extra 50 health at base, which the training belt will double. So that'll get me to 400, 450-ish maybe, which isn't so bad. I get caught by this guy in the bathroom, which is a huge problem, so I had to use an acid flask to get rid of him. On my way out of this place, I almost got cornered by taxidermy as well, which would have been disastrous, but luckily I slip away. I figured it was time to test our build against Antoine, so let's go in and give it a shot. 400 health is pretty good, but I'm fairly limited on the amount of items that I have for this fight at this point. I have a few acid flasks and a few explosives, but unless I'm going to use absolutely everything that I have in this fight, I should probably stock up. This one doesn't go great. Looks like it's about time to fall back on a tried and true strategy. The number one best way to get gear early game and late game. Trick Nesta into absolutely destroying himself and then murdering Eugene. Yay! For anyone that's unaware of how this works, you trick this guy into going and looking into this pipe by giving him this love letter that this lady who lives in a pipe now writes him, and when he looks in the pipe, a worm crawls into his eye and then makes him explode into worms, and then he rips apart and his head runs off and eats the shopkeeper. And then you can kill him pretty easily when he eats the shopkeeper, and you can steal everything in the shop. It's a fairly heartless strategy that kills two of the nicest characters in the game, but stealing everything from the shop is really helpful. And Eugene, the shopkeeper, has an apartment behind the shop that has some really good stuff in it, including the ruby ring, which increases your health by 100 and also gives you fire damage resistance, which is helpful. It's okay. It's not that great. Now that Nesta and Eugene have been heinously murdered and we've pilfered the remaining goods from Eugene's house, we have ourselves the ruby ring, which has given us a max total of 606 health, plus an entire inventory of explosives, bombs, shurikens, throwing knives, all kinds of good stuff. So we're in a great position to take down Antoine. For some reason that I can't quite recall, maybe the beginning of the madness sneaking through, I decided to go and murder Jasper and go and fight the quartet up on the roof for some reason. Maybe just to test how my build was going, how all my items could fare. Maybe just to see if I could. I don't remember, but yeah. Anyway, with that little experiment out of the way and our final preparations for Antoine complete, let's jump back into that fight. So with 5 firebombs, 7 acid flasks, and 13 explosives, I was pretty decked out going into this. Numbness round 1 saves us from any paralyze or acid that we'll take for the rest of the battle, and then it's just a process of slowly blowing this guy up until hopefully his pals rock up. If you haven't fought Antoine before on cursed mode, the way that he works is he immediately kicks you in the face and drills acid on you before you can start the fight. So usually starting off with the acid debuff, which melts your defense. And then he proceeds to attack you twice every turn. Usually because he can counterattack any physical attack that you give him. He can't counterattack items, luckily, so that kind of helps. Once you've knocked his health down to 0, the fight doesn't end. Instead, his 2 friends rock up. One is a mantis, the other one is a centipede. The mantis eats Antoine and starts the fight. The centipede follows pretty soon after. This is like the Ornstein and Smo fight from Dark Souls. Whichever one you decide to kill first ends up eating the other one and becoming supercharged. Luckily for us, the mantis on the left-hand side, that is always more dangerous in this fight, and the superpowered version, has less health. And since we're using items that hit every enemy in battle, naturally Esther, the mantis, dies first. So we get superpowered Noah, but he's relatively simple. Without numbness, he can be a bit of a problem, but with it on, he doesn't do much damage and he doesn't have any real tricks up his sleeve, so we just waste him. Great fight, super expensive for our item economy, but luckily we are loaded. Now that the insect trio is dead, we have access to the basement, the sewers, and basically the rest of the game. I quickly opened up the sewers because I really wanted to see if Lumpy in his little prison had any changes because I was rocking the Lumpy Easter Egg. Unfortunately, there isn't anything too special outside of the fact that the Straitjacket is no longer in the room because you're already wearing it. So I guess that's a nice little touch. You can't get 2 instances of the Straitjacket. It's just not how it works. Hey Lumpy, what's happening? Wearing this Straitjacket sucks ass. I know how you feel. By the way, it smells like shit in here. Is that you? Alright, peace. So for anyone who was cool enough to join me for the Madman stream, this is actually where you guys come in. So this is the jumping off point for that stream. So this is what I'm rocking at the minute. Technically, the highest stats work best with the Straitjacket, but when you start getting deeper into this kind of run, Dire Straits absolutely sucks ass. It is not going to do anything for you.
It doesn't help. It gets you killed. You know, if I wear the champion's belt and a few of these other items that maybe like the saucepan or cowboy hat, giant skull or something, and try to boost up some of this stuff, it's cool and everything. My defense will still be shit. I'll have high stats, but man, it just does not help for staying alive. At the minute, I'm just pumping everything into health.
So while we were mucking around in chat and just like going and visiting Lumpy and talking about the run so far, someone suggested going and getting the Indigo Mask, to which I replied, I think fighting the Boiler Beast would be a really bad idea. I'll probably get destroyed. But they explained that the Boiler Beast's hitbox is so large that you can simply run past him and grab the mask. I didn't believe them, so I had to test it out.
Yeah, it's pretty rough trot. Why does Glitch Poison do all that? Because it's glitched. All the glitch things do crazy shit. Oh, okay. That was dope. Oh shit. I didn't realize it at the time, but going and grabbing this Indigo Hockey Mask was an absolute game changer. For anyone who hasn't used this item, it is one of the game tester secret items that were added to the game relatively recently. This specific item is from the YouTuber Jay Here. He was a game tester for the game, and this is the item that he developed. It is a homage to Friday the 13th and Jason Voorhees from the original arcade games, I believe. So the Indigo Hockey Mask, what it does, you pop it on as an item that we wear on your head, and when you're in battle, if your health drops to 0, the mask cracks and opens up, and it gives you anywhere from like, it seems like 30% to sometimes 100% of your health back. Once you're in that second mask unleashed state, you take an extra 50% damage, you do more damage, and of course, you get a second life, which is incredible. This item alone is highly abusable because of the fact that it heals you, and not like temporarily heals, it just gives you free health. You can enter battles with a really low amount of health, let something hit you once, get the free heal from the mask breaking, and then run away, just topping off your health for nothing, which is brilliant. On top of that, the safety net of copping a one-shot attack, which there is a lot of, the shades in particular like to kill you instantly by whispering you sweet nothings. That won't instantly kill you. Instead, it'll crack the mask and initiate the second health bar, which is crazy. While we were running around killing everything and abusing the Indigo Mask, the Cheeseboard, which is what I'm going to refer to everyone in chat from now on, asked why I wasn't using blood clot bombs since they were infinite. I had completely spaced on utilizing Tickle, the friendly tick. The way this guy works is you donate your blood to him, your health, and he gives you friendship points. And one of the things you can buy for those friendship points are blood clot bombs. They're a weak explosive that hits everything in a battle, but it deals a lot of bleeding damage. Sometimes you can get intense bleed straight off the bat, which is really, really strong. And you can come back here and give him as much health as you want, and then get more of these bombs. So that's what we started to abuse. That became the main weapon of this part of the run. Essentially, blood clot bombs only, which is pretty funny. Now that we were rocking our Indigo Mask and had about 50 blood clot bombs up our ass, we went to take on the elevator thing, and we bled him off this mortal coil. We filled him with so many holes that he just leaked like a sieve. Easy done. With the elevator opened up, there wasn't a lot left to do before we had to choose what ending we wanted. So we made our way around the apartment, just collecting the offerings to see which direction we wanted to go. Little did I know that I was about to get a special guest on the stream. Has the run felt impossible so far, Nyack? Certain outcomes of the run have felt very impossible. For instance, I don't think that it will be too realistic to try to get the Unity ending, because that's a lot of boss fights you gotta push through, and the only thing that is saving me right now is items, and there is a finite amount of items in the game. I'm not going to be able to create a shit ton of explosives and Molotovs if I've got to use like 7 or 8 to get through one boss fight. Frankie! There midnight be a buff coming for Cinnamon. There might be. Frank, like, come on, man. You're buffing everything like crazy. So Frank, I don't know if you noticed, but this is the Madman run. I'm running the Lumpy in honor of Lumpy Touch, and it absolutely sucks. It would be cool if there was some kind of a pat on the back for doing this run, because it is nasty. You want to make things like really gross. Madman solo Unity ending pops an achievement. You set the bar really high. So at the time, this conversation that we were having was just a bit of hot air, a bit of fun, just banter, joking about things and giving Frank grief. But slowly, an idea started to formulate. This was the Madman run. Why was I setting my sights so low? I should do something absolutely insane, and I've already given myself the most insane goal possible. Beating Sybil as the Madman. But how on earth was that even going to be possible? I honestly didn't know. So as the stream continued, we were joking with Frank about the Straitjacket. He was spitballing maybe creating some kind of a buff for it, like a random damage type allocation to the Dire Straits attack, which would be cool. We made our way through the blackout. We went and collected some more of the offerings. We were kind of just passing time, you know, pushing through some of the easier stuff, just joking around and having a good time. At some point, we returned back to Tickle to get more blood clot bombs, and friend of the channel, Schlog, who was on the Cheeseboard at the time, explained to me how you can abuse the Indigo Mask to get infinite friendship points. So the way this works is that you donate all your blood to Tickle in exchange for friendship points. Then you fight him. In the fight, you let Tickle hit you once because you'll be at 1 HP. This breaks the Indigo Mask open, refilling your HP. Then if you escape, you can do the whole lot again. Tickle's never angry at you, he doesn't recall, he just wants to drink more blood, more friendship points, more blood clot bombs. This is an exploit, and it has existed before using the cursed rings that Tickle himself sells because they have HP regeneration. But when you try to donate that blood, Tickle would say, "Ew, fake blood, I'm not drinking that, no friendship points for you." Fortunately, the Indigo Mask's fake blood, though, works just fine. So while we were doing this little grind, Schlog is over on the Cheeseboard making jokes about how we have an infinite money glitch because you can sell the blood clot bombs for $2 each, and that if we got enough money, we could use the cash sock game skill, which directly scales off of money, in order to one-shot everything in the game. He says, "Are you crazy enough to get $90,000 for cash sock though? That's how much I think you'd need to one-shot all organ Sybil." What an insanely stupid, idiotic, and perfect idea for this run. So now that I had my plan, thank you very much, Schlog. I'll hate you later when I start doing this, but for now, I knew that I had to wrap things up. I didn't know how difficult this would be, but I knew it would take an absurdly long amount of time, and I wanted this to be an extraordinary surprise. So I threw myself at the altar of the Exalted Four and got annihilated to finish this run up so I could start grinding in secret. So for obvious reasons, I didn't record myself doing this full grind. Mostly because having like 60 hours of friggin' footage of me doing this is just a complete waste of time and space. But I've put together this small example to show you how it worked. So to start with, I need an unbelievable amount of friendship points. In order to do this, I sat and ground out blood and battles for days. Sometimes I would spend a whole day doing this, just battle, donate blood, run away, battle, donate blood, run away. It just slowly unraveled a part of my brain that has complex thoughts. That just disappeared. I'd watch something on my second monitor and I'd sit here and do this until I had thousands of friendship points, like sometimes about 8,000 friendship points. And then I would start the other side of this grind, which is spending the points. When it comes to spending the points, it was slightly easier. I was able to make a macro for my PC so I could press a button and it would automate a series of button presses in order to purchase the mosquito knives as they sold for $6 a pop. Initially, I thought this would be really simple. Grind up all the friendship points, like thousands and thousands, and then hit the macro, walk away for a day, come back, and I've got thousands of mosquito knives. I'll sell them all off. Very simple, done. It's not that easy. So the mosquito knives can only stack up to 99 in your inventory. After that, you can still exchange friendship points for tickle, but you won't get any more knives. The friendship points are just wasted. So I timed how long my macro could purchase 99 mosquito knives. It was exactly 13 minutes and 27 seconds. So I would set an alarm on my phone for 13 minutes and 27 seconds, and then I would walk away. And when that alarm went off, I would come back, deactivate my macro, and have to walk Sam's ass all the way back up to Mutt to sell those knives for just under $600. Keep in mind, the initial goal was to get to $90,000. Of course, spoiler warning, I didn't get to that figure. That would be insane. The amount of time it took me to get to the amount of money I did have to do this was still stupid. So to recap, sit here pressing monotonous buttons to get friendship points. Leave the macro on to purchase the mosquito knives every 13.5 minutes. Run back up and sell the knives. $600 a pop. This is great if you were going to do this passively just to get enough money to buy everything in the game. You know how much you need for that? Probably like $7,000 or something. And that's probably everything you could possibly purchase in the game. I was shooting for much higher than that. To further display my point, this little example in the background was about 4 or 5 minutes of gameplay. And this whole endeavor netted me a grand $42. This is why I say this is a world first. No one else is going to attempt this, I guarantee it. Some other complications that came into play while I was doing this was trying to end each game session. Clearly I didn't want to leave the game running in case it crashed or my computer randomly turned off or something like this. So after like 8 hours of grinding, I'd have to go back up and save the game. But there's only limited amounts of saves on its cursed mode. So I had to explore the apartment complex, sometimes into really dangerous areas like parts of Meat World, the underwater apartment, Glitch World, for instance, just trying to get enough danger level to save the game. I didn't want to risk drinking the black ooze or trying to go and encounter anything that I couldn't handle because I'd lose like 8 hours of progress. So that slowly started dwindling my resources of time and how many saves that I could squeeze in while I was doing this. One of the other factors that I only realized very late into this is that I could go and get myself inflicted with glitch bleed from the glitch world, and that actually increases your health by an additional 50%. So that put me up 980-ish, and the grind I did with that max health was a little faster than the initial grind, but that was maybe in the last third of the overall 60-ish hours I spent doing this. So outside of actually making the money, which was harrowing in of itself, I needed to do the rest of the preparation to actually achieve the Unity ending. Part of that is going and learning about Sybil, getting access to her apartment, going into her apartment, getting her key, find Sybil, get all the plant discs, la la la. That stuff usually isn't a huge problem, besides a couple of hurdles which I wasn't sure how I was going to overcome. The first of these was Clyde and his kids. If you've ever fought these guys before on cursed mode, you know it's a difficult fight. Mostly because of the second phase where you have to fight the Angel of Death. I didn't really know how I was going to deal with this, and I went into it a couple of times and got smoked. Even with my incredible amount of health and the mask, Angel of Death does so much damage, it is absurd. She'll hit you with the fly ball for like 300 health. So I got desperate at this point and I had to resort to using Cash Sock. For those who are unaware, the way Cash Sock works is it uses 5% of your overall money as crushing damage on the enemy, as if you were swinging a sock full of money and slamming them with it. So the more money you have, the larger that 5% becomes, but you lose that 5% of your overall wealth when the attack lands. If you miss, you keep your money, which is cool. What sucks is that it's an attack, a physical attack. It can miss, it can be evaded, sometimes it does no damage if the enemy blocks it. Cash Sock is my only ace in the hole at this point, so I had to use it against the Angel of Death just to survive. This one usage cost me a little over $800, as I had a bit over 17.5 grand when I entered this fight. Our next stop is over to the landlord's apartment to take down the surgeon and some of his cronies. For those that don't know, there's two incredibly powerful one-off buff items in the game called the Invincibility Syringe and the Combat Surge Syringe. The surgeon and his cronies are holding onto the Combat Surge, and I will definitely need it. What Combat Surge does is it gives you between 3 and 5 turns worth of double actions in a turn for just one character and just once, and there's only one instance of it in the game. So it is very RNG, but if I was going to defeat Sybil, I knew that I'd need it. This fight was super annoying because the surgeon constantly heals his little injured cronies here. So this last guy just refused to bleed out because the surgeon kept healing the bleed and then healing his health, and I almost died myself, but I was just being stingy with resources. At this point, I had completed my preparation to get to Sybil, so out of curiosity, I decided to go and see how effective this strategy would actually be. I didn't have all my preparation complete yet, and I certainly didn't have the money that I required to get this done, but I wanted to see if there was a couple of workarounds I could use to make the grind easier on myself. My general train of thought is if I could inflict Sybil with acid, and I could get the mask to break, then I would have her defense being pierced by the acid and my damage being increased by the unleashed mask. I wouldn't need as much money
to one-shot Sybil. Unfortunately for me, this is when I realized how much of an idiot I was. Okay, the fight with Sybil. So when you start this encounter, it flashes up the names of all of the 9 organs that are left alive, and these are the powers that she's going to have in this fight. Sybil starts round 1 before you can do anything using Black Hole. This attack deals between 35 to 50% of your max health depending on your defense. So once the fight actually starts, it breaks down like this. Sybil will get 5 attacks per turn. 1 from herself and 4 from the various organs, which have a 12-turn order in which they roll around. Some of them are nastier than others, but they all suck, and they all do some kind of status effect or something else crazy. For the first 4 rounds of the fight, Sybil's uterus will use the Spawn Young ability at the end of the turn and spawn one of these children. So on top of fighting Sybil, who gets herself 5 attacks a turn, by turn 4, I will also have to deal with the other 4 attacks from her kids. But wait, there's more. Here's the part that really hurts. Each one of the organs being left alive also gives Sybil a buff to her survivability and health regeneration. You may have just missed it, but unfortunately, Charles, the lungs, gives Sybil a 50% damage reduction to crushing damage, which happens to be what my cash sock does. So this little experiment that I was hoping would speed up the progress of this run actually just proved that I was making half of the progress that I thought I was. 50% damage reduction on crushing. Sybil has insane resistance to all status effects, including acid, thanks to the stomach. Also, the Indigo Mask's Unleashed ability does not power up Cash Sock. Neither does any other buff that increases flat damage. Cash Sock only scales with money. So, this moved the meter a little bit. It was pretty clear that one-shot Sybil, $90,000, was never going to work. In reality, if I wanted to one-shot Sybil, I'd need $180,000, and I wasn't devoting 6 months of my life to this. So let's pivot and start working a strategy that will work. By the way, if I didn't mention it, the $90,000 number came from the fact that Sybil has 4,500 health, and 5% of 90,000 is 4,500. So with that depressing lesson learnt, let's go back to what we're good at. Grinding up friendship points. Yay! Okay, now that I know what the playing field is, I can start preparing in earnest. So here's the real strategy. While Zombie Cheeseman is down in the blood and friendship point mines, grinding away at that, Big Brain Cheeseman starts formulating a plan. First of all, I'm going to need that invulnerability syringe that I completely forgot about before. Currently, Marvin has it in the overgrown apartment, but he's a complete dick to fight. When you fight this guy with a team, he'll swallow one of your party members and kind of keep them trapped so they're locked out of the battle. But when you're alone, he can't do that immediately because that would suck. So instead, he gives you 4 turns to kill him before he just instant game overs you. Unfortunately, dealing the 640 damage to completely kill this dude in 4 turns just with the items I had was a little difficult, so I had to use Cash Sock on this guy. It cost me about $2,000, but we got the syringe. The next step was to go into Glitch World and collect the 99 stacks of the glitched medication from that one guy, so I could start circling through the different glitch status effects and see if any of those would be helpful. Schlog seems to swear by glitched poison because overall it is just a buff, besides the fact that you lose some stamina passively. But glitch bleed drew my attention even more, as the extra 50% health would be incredibly helpful against the onslaught of attacks that Sybil and her brood deal out. Plus, the more max health I have, the more health that the mask will restore when it breaks. In terms of game skills, the only 2 that were going to be helpful were Numbness and Cash Sock, so I already had those covered.
My consumable arsenal contained multiple fire bombs, a stack of 12 explosives, loads of acid vials, but I didn't think I was going to get the chance to use any of these. I also stocked up on elixirs to try to survive the fight. At this point, I'd also settled on a much more reasonable number to grind up for cash sock, 40k. At $40,000, cash sock should deal about $2,000 each time it lands. However, with Sybil's damage reduction in play, it's more like about 35% less than that. I thought it was 50, but I think the 50% is increased to her defense against crushing, so it works out to be about 35% overall reduction. Whoops, I meant to say 45%. That puts my first cash sock hit at about 1100 damage, which is not too bad. If I get off 4, maybe 5 hits, depending on how long the fight goes, then this could be doable within the first few rounds. Holy shit. Okay, so the actual fight itself, oh my god. Considering all the hours I'd spent preparing, all of these contingency plans, buffs, and various strategies, I did not take into consideration just how RNG heavy this goddamn fight was going to be. This was awful. What a nightmare. Even the fight itself took, I don't know, 10 hours to complete. Run after run after run, trying to get everything to line up. So there's a lot of factors at play, so I'll lay them all out on the table so you can see what I'm dealing with. I had been grinding for so long that I was up to the very last save possible on the final day before day 15. So no time left to do anything. And one of the major things that I completely neglected in this run, because I was using all items up until right now, is anxiety and loneliness, of which I had both. These are two status effects that are related to how you play the game. Loneliness occurs when you don't have enough social stat, so you don't have any team members and you haven't been hanging out with anyone, which clearly I haven't. Anxious is a status you get when you don't have enough of the calm stat. It's related to playing video games and doing some other things, but I clearly didn't do any of that either for like the last 50 hours. Both of these statuses affect your accuracy greatly. Anxious is minus 25%. Loneliness is minus no one knows. So when I went into this fight, cash sock almost never landed. On top of the fact that Sybil also has pretty high agility and can also block the attack sometimes. So this was awful. In the rare chance that cash sock did hit the first time, it didn't hit the second or the third or the fourth. I needed this to hit 4, sometimes 5 times in a row. And if it didn't land, I almost always had to reset. This fight is so finely tuned within the first 5 rounds of the fight because combat surge and the invulnerability syringe only last between 3 and 5 turns, which leads me to the next reset point. Combat surge and invulnerability need to last 5 turns each, and they have a chance of lasting between 3 and 5 randomly. There was a lot of instances where one went the distance and the other didn't. And don't worry, we're not finished. Also, Sybil has an attack called Digestion, which her intestines hit you with on round 1 of the fight. Digestion reduces your max health by 50% and hits 80% of the time. You'll always be hit by the damage, but the health reduction has an 80% chance to hit. I needed it not to hit the majority of the time. And if it does hit, I needed to get put to sleep and then woken up in the same turn because that's the only thing that resets it. Which, oh, the rarity of that happening. On top of all this, I needed to spam the glitched elixirs at the beginning of every attempt, hoping to get either poison or glitched bleed. and it's a random chance of which one you get. And when you save your game, whatever glitch status effect you previously had on doesn't stick around. It just doesn't. You just get healed from it. So the beginning of every attempt started like this. Spam elixirs, get the wrong status effect, reload. Again and again and again and again and again. So to recap on how ridiculous this all is, how this RNG hell of a fight plays out. Start a run. Have to get the right glitch status effect. If you don't, reload. Get into the fight. If you get hit by digestion on round 1 of the fight, reload. Start again. If you get past round 1 of the fight and digestion didn't hit you, you take combat surge. It has to last for 5 rounds. If it doesn't, reload. Round 2 of the fight, take the invulnerability syringe and numbness. If the invulnerability syringe doesn't last 5 rounds, reload. And finally, the cherry on top, try to hit Sybil with the fucking cash sock. And if it misses, reload. I know I named this run the Madman run, but it was kind of funny and ironic at the time. I didn't think I'd actually go fucking insane doing this, but this is how ridiculous this is. I'm even surprised that it eventually worked. Oh my god, I pushed myself to the absolute limit here. This is ridiculous. This is the dumbest shit I've ever done by a large margin. Okay, so bitching aside, this is how this fight is supposed to work on paper. To start the fight, Sybil hits you with Black Hole and it deletes about half your health. That sucks. On my first turn, use the Combat Surge or the Invulnerability Syringe. It was up in the air which one was going to work, but they both had their benefits. On Sybil's first turn, she'll hit you with Digestion, probably Pain, or attack you. Pain's the worst of the 2 options. Poison you, put you to sleep, a bunch of other stuff. If you manage to get Combat Surge off, it protects you from some of the status effects. Vulnerability Syringe doesn't really, so you might get put to sleep. But if you do get put to sleep and then she hits you and it wakes you up, it'll reverse the digestion health limit, which is awesome. At the end of the first turn, Sybil's going to spawn her first child. Round 2. Depending if you use the Combat Surge or the Invulnerability Syringe, use the other one, and then just barrel down and get smashed by Sybil. Hopefully you'll survive. Round 3. This is when we start dealing damage. So Sybil has a health regeneration of 450 HP a turn. So once I start dealing damage, I have to make sure that I chain all my damage together for the remainder of the fight. If I give it a turn to heal myself or something, Sybil's going to out-regen me with the damage I can deal, which will elongate the battle, which means I'll drop off Combat Surge, which I won't have 2 turns, and then I'll get screwed. So ideally, round 3, I attack twice and both hits land. Round 4, this is when things get tricky. If both of those previous cash socks land, I need to hit one more time to push Sybil into her low health threshold, and then she'll immediately interrupt your turn, even if you have double turns. Doesn't matter. She jumps in to hit you with Black Hole again. I think this is when she drops below 70% of her health. So, in this round, strategically use an elixir first, and then use Cash Sock. You're trying to top off your health so you can survive the Black Hole after the Cash Sock lands. In the very rare instance that this all works out, the next turn you should be able to kill Sybil, like I did here. And then guess what? You have to kill her kids too. Depressing, right? Yeah, it was for me. Right here, I was like, yes, I finally did it. You fuck you, Sybil. And then the stupid child murked me. Thanks, Schlog. You did this to me. I have to admit, killing Sybil that time did fill me with a lot of joy. Immediately with dread, because I realized I had to kill the kids as well. But man, did it feel good finally squeaking out a victory. It was It was a really nice confirmation at a really low period during this challenge where I knew it was possible, but I did have to somehow get even better RNG so that I had the invulnerability syringe going, or perhaps the combat surge, for when Sybil had died and the kids were left. There was one particularly funny run when the intrusive thoughts were just so loud that I thought maybe if I kill Sybil and then I run from the battle when it's just the kids left, that would mean that I won and I could shortcut this whole thing. And I'll show you what happened when I did that. Yeah. So that was stupid. I completely threw away a probably perfect opportunity to finish this. Like 4 or 5 hours before I got the run where I did win. Desperation makes a man do crazy things. Okay, so enough baiting, enough silly talk and stupidity about how difficult this bullshit is. Here's the final attempt, the successful attempt, the one that finally restored some sanity to this weary piece of cheese.
Yes! You fucking fuck! Yes! 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 Yes, yes, yes. Die, Sybil. Die. See, this is why I enjoy doing these runs. It doesn't matter how much pain and agony that I went through trying to get this done. Now that it is done, I feel absolutely amazing. Hell yeah. Fucking did it. Having had said that, thank God that's over. Oh my... Oh, that aged me. That aged me into a very fine cheese. So yeah, there we go. Madman run. Cursed mode, solo, done. And in the spirit of going insane, here is the Unity ending. Enjoy. Hey guys, Cheeseman here. Just wanted to say big thank you to Jay here for adding the indigo mask into the game. It was his playtester weapon that he chose, and this wouldn't be possible without that. So thanks, Jay. Big shout out to Schlog. What a Chad Schlog is. He drops into every stream. He's feeding me good info. He's giving me bad ideas. Solid guy. He's another fellow challenge runner, so give him some big love. He's got a small channel, but he does good work. Big congratulations to Francis Colombe, Frankie. FrankiePixelShow, Frankie Smile Show, Frankie Show. What a wonderful 2025 it's been. Look outside. Winning the Best Indie Horror 2025 and Best Art Direction at the Horror Game Awards is incredible. You've done such a good job with the game, Frank. Everyone is super excited for Malice and the Cursed City to come out in the future, I'm sure. But for now, brilliant job. Good job, man. Pat yourself on the back. Couldn't say enough. For everyone that's tuned into the channel this year, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm just a little YouTube guy from Australia. Just a little cheese man doing silly cheese man things. And you guys have been amazing.
coming and tuning into the stream, jumping on the Cheeseboard, just being here. It's been super fun. I'm so shit at this, and I feel like this year you've just encouraged the hell out of me. I feel like things are getting better, but for the time being, I couldn't be more grateful. It's the end of the year. I want to do something special, something crazy and ridiculous. So I hope I've delivered, and I hope you've had fun. By the way, I said this is a world first, and it most certainly is, but it's probably going to be the only run like this because Frank is 100% gonna patch this exploit. The infinite blood friendship tickle thing. That's not lasted in the game. I think it's only lasted as long as it has because I literally begged Frank on stream to leave it in because I was already like 40 hours into this. You want to see? It's pretty funny. So, this save file right here, this save file is the Madman run at this point, right? And I could easily finish it because he's sitting in front of any of the end game bosses. He could probably kill the Perfect Ritual, Exalted 4, he could probably kill Sybil if I went out of my way to take out all of the limbs, the organs, I should say, and weaken her. But my plan was this: to earn an insane amount of money to make Cash Sock massacre fully strength powered no dead organ Sybil. The issue that I've had so far is that I ground up money for a ridiculous amount of time, and then I found out that Sybil is resistant to crushing damage, and that is the damage of Cash Sock. So now I have to grind even further. And that is what is your fault, Schlock. But it has been really funny, and once it does work, which it will, it's just a matter of time, it's going to be hilarious. But Frank, if you patch the tickle interaction where I can grind up blood knives for an infinite period of time, it'll screw me. So if you can hold off on patching that for like the next 2 weeks, that would be sweet.
Cheeseman, Cheeseman.
Who keeps saying cheese man?
Cheeseman.